Welcome back to Limitless and Unfiltered, friends. Today is going to be a solo episode. Jenny is away on vacation, well deserved. And so I'm going to take over today's episode and bring you something that I think I've been wanting to talk about for a little while now. But in truth, okay, I may have held back on this and have held back on this. Actually, I won't even say may, I'll own up to this out of fear of what you might think after listening to this episode about me, about what my thoughts are and all that. But I want to invite you in because it was, this journey, this woo woo journey. I'm going to talk about the woo woo today. This woo woo journey that brought me into, I feel, more enlightenment in my life, more awakening. And it's not to say that I have arrived at some sort of awakening, but I'm in that process. And it's been a journey of ups and downs, of unlearning and learning. It's been a journey of healing. And I feel like when people talk about healing, they feel like, it only pertains to like being broken. And I want to obviously address this because I've had questions asking me about like what my journey has been and what I've fixed, quote unquote fixed. And I just don't feel like you need to fix things. I don't inherently think that things are wrong with people. I just think that we need to learn. Right. And the more we learn, the more it's funny. The more we learn, I feel like the more you know what you don't know. I had a teacher once tell me that you know what you know and you know what you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. And I'm going to shout her out. Her name is Marisa. And she used to say that. And I was like 19 years old in dental hygiene school. And I never truly understood that. I always thought like that's something weird to say, but I think she was onto something. And now I understand fully kind of where she comes from. And so anyways, I'm going to dive into the woo woo a little bit here. I want to share my heart with you and I want to take you on the journey that I've been so far on. And I feel like it's a continuous journey and will always be a continuous journey. I'm a firm believer that if you're not learning, you're dying. And so you know what a gift it is to be able to go on different paths in life and really dig deep inside. So today's episode is going to be something that I will invite you to go inward because it's something that has resonated really well with me. And I know Jenny always asks me like, what do you mean about the woo woo and all that stuff? And if you're not into the woo woo, and I do want to stray away from that, like calling it that, although that's kind of the best way to put it right now, because you know what? I'm just going to get into it. I'm going to get into it because you'll understand in a few minutes, hopefully, where my head is coming at. And this journey and path, I believe, is for everyone. I believe everyone should go on an awakening journey, but it's hard for most people to do that because going inward means that you have to face a lot of your feelings. It means that you have to understand different energies. It means you have to understand different things that maybe you were raised to not think about and not question. And so it is kind of like a shattering of your identity, but for the new identity to rebirth and be able to see life in a different way and see the world in a different way. So, I'm excited to share with you guys all of my thoughts and yeah, just take you along kind of like this journey and take you along my brain of what I've been going through. So, here's the thing. What if I told you that the guidance that you are searching for, okay, the answers that you've been chasing, the clarity, the clarity that you've, desperately wanting to find, what if I told you that that isn't out there somewhere, but it's already inside of you? Okay, what if the voice of God, I'm going to use God. You can use energy. You can use source. You can use the universe. You can use karma. Substitute the word God for whatever you believe in. I believe in God, and therefore I'm going to bring that word into here, but use whatever you feel comfortable with, right? But what if the voice of God, the wisdom of the entire universe, the divine energy that we crave, okay, has been sitting quietly within you, waiting for you to notice it? That's exactly how I felt, guys. It's exactly how I felt. Okay, so I'm going to dive deep into divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy, spirituality, prayer, and what it really means to turn inward instead of outward. Okay? And I promise that by the end of this episode, you'll never see yourself the same way again. And if you're still listening to this, even right now, it means that there's something in you that's curious about maybe finding answers again that you've been outsourcing somewhere else. And maybe it's time to listen inward, okay? So I want to start with something that might sound, like I said at the beginning, very woo-woo, but it's actually the most natural, grounded truth. And that is divine feminine and divine masculine energy, okay? And this is not about gender at all. This is about balance, okay? So the divine feminine is intuition, okay? The divine feminine is flow, it's creativity, it's receiving, it's the energy of simply being. Now, the divine masculine is the structure, okay? It's action, it's logic, it's the energy of doing. And the thing is, you need both. Like, we need both. The world needs both of those energies. You cannot build something, anything lasting, if you're only in your feminine flow, which is what the narrative is right now on social media, is like, be in flow, let everything just come your way, just receive and just attract and everything. Well, let me just tell you that that's not the way that you are going to build anything lasting at all, okay? You're going to burn out if you're only in the masculine, but you're not going to receive to your full capacity if you don't balance both the feminine and the masculine. The world needs both. Every single person needs both. But the problem is most of us live lopsided, essentially. Okay. So, for example, society rewards the hustle, the grind, the logic, right? Go, 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 do, more, more, more. And we silence our intuition in that process. We dismiss the rest periods that we so desperately need. We ignore the whispers in our soul, essentially, because we've been taught to chase the world, but never to trust ourselves. So I want you to ask yourself, where am I over functioning in my masculine energy, right? Like, really sit with that. Where am I over functioning in that energy? Where am I pushing? Where am I forcing? Where am I controlling? Right? And where am I starving my feminine energy? So what does that mean? Where am I ignoring my intuition, my need for resting? Hey, guilty. I'm guilty of this, okay? Like, even though I've done a lot of this work and I'm still doing this work, like I said at the beginning, I think this is going to be a continuous journey of healing and I love it. It's all about releasing that. So where are you ignoring your intuition? Where are you ignoring the need for rest, the creative flow processes in you? Because balance isn't luxury, balance is the survival. Okay? And so ask yourself those questions, because I think that a lot of us don't even we're not aware of this to this degree, and we just think, well, I just need to push through everything. Like I'm very much the person that has been in divine masculine energy most of my life. Most of my life, the more I do, the better I feel. The less that I do, the less productive I feel. And in reality, that is the unbalance or disbalance that I have in my body between the masculine and feminine energy. And here's the truth that most people don't want to face, guys. We've been trained to look outward our entire life. Okay, so outward for validation, outward for permission, outward for answers. But the reality is, looking outward keeps you disconnected. It keeps you disconnected. Like, you're never going to find peace if your compass is always someone else's opinion. And by someone else, I can mean actual, like, people, like other people around you, or, a religion. It could be politics. It could be anything. But if you're constantly looking for someone else's opinion, then you're never going to find peace. You can scroll 1,000 posts. You can read 100 books. You can read all the personal development. You can ask different people for their opinions, and you can still feel empty after doing all of this work, right? Because you can't actually outsource your soul. The real guidance is inward, okay? It's inside. That's where God whispers to you. That's where truth truly lives. That's where peace hides, inside. So ask yourself, I ask myself this all the time, when was the last time I trusted my own voice over the noise of the world, over the noise of my parents, over the noise of my church congregation, over the noise of my best friends? When was the last time that you trusted your own voice versus them? So I want to obviously, not obviously, but obviously not obviously. I want to I want to bring in God because I do believe in God deeply. I really do. But I don't believe that he's some distant being, unreachable, far away in the clouds. I don't believe in that because I believe that God is within us. I believe he designed it that way, truthfully, okay, and that there is no separation. In fact, if you've gone to church or if you, regardless of your denomination, truly, I think for most religions they say you are created in the likeness and image of God, correct? How many times have we heard that? So if that is truly the case, then we should understand that God is actually within us. Like think about it. If he created you in his image, how could he not exist within you? Like how is he just some separate being in the skies, you know? It's like this. God is the ocean. You are a drop, and the drop is never separate from the ocean, but the ocean is infinitely bigger. That is literally the best way that I can describe my journey with the spirituality, with all of this woo woo stuff, with my connection with God, is like there actually is no separation between you and God. You are a part of that infinitely bigger ocean. Okay? So you're not really separate from Him. So when you're searching, when you're begging and you're asking, like, God, where are you? Okay, like He's actually whispering back, I'm right here. I'm inside you. So stop looking for a God out there. Out there. If you can't see, I'm in the video, I'm waving my hands, okay? Stop looking for a God out there when he's already breathing through you in here, in your heart. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about prayer because I think prayer is the bridge. Prayer isn't begging, which most I would say, I'm going to speak for my own religion. I believe that a lot of the prayer is in an energy form of begging, of asking, but prayer is not that. Prayer is not begging. It isn't, groveling. It's truly connection and it's alignment. Proper prayer. So when you pray outward, okay, which is what we've been taught to do, pray outward, you're connecting to the infinite presence of the God around you, okay? When you pray inward, you're aligning with God already within you. So I'm not saying that one is not correct or one is better than the other. I think both matter because both are powerful when it doesn't come from an energy of begging, okay? So instead of only asking yourself, like, or when you're praying, instead of only saying, God, tell me what to do, maybe try this. Sit with yourself if you're in this place and say, God, like, awaken what you've already placed inside of me. Help me hear it. Help me trust it. I'm ready for the work. That has a different energy than, what do I do? Okay. The answer is going to be within you already. It's going to be within you already. You have to then surrender and really tell God, okay, have a conversation with him of, hey, I know it's within me. What have you placed inside me that can help me deal with this? Just give me the gifts that you have already given me, essentially. Because prayer is not about moving God closer to you. It's about moving yourself closer to God already within you. Already within you is already within you. So that is what I believe prayer truly should be about. It's about bringing you closer to what's within already, which essentially in its nature is God, right? So how do you actually do this? Because you're probably sitting here like, what? She sounds nuts. Okay. So how do you train yourself to stop chasing and to start trusting? Okay. I'm going to give you some steps that have worked for me. And I think that once you start, like if you're still listening to this, it means that there's a pull that you are searching for something or that something in your life is asking you to go inward. So I'm going to give you a few tips that have worked for me. Okay. So you need to be still. Stillness over noise, 100%. Okay. Maybe it's 5 minutes a day where you take and you sit and you breathe, get rid of your phone. Okay, get rid of your phone. What I've done is I've placed my hand on my heart and I ask, okay, what do I need right now? And then just sit there. Just sit there for 5 minutes. Ask yourself that question. Don't move. Okay. And it's so hard for humans to do that. We have been conditioned to always be on the move and always want to find the answers right away. Stillness is very hard to do. So start with 5 minutes a day and start by asking yourself that question. What do I need right now? Okay, if you've been long enough knowing me, you know that journaling is like such a huge thing for me. But journaling is a truth serum. Okay, it's your brain dumping everything that you think and feel and all that. So when you're journaling, ask yourself, what am I afraid to admit? Okay, so what truth have I been ignoring? And I don't want you to edit anything. I don't want you to write down what logically in your mind you want to write down to make that question sound good, that answer. I want you to ask yourself the question and I want you to just write, just let it out. Okay. Another thing that's worked for me is body check-ins. Okay, so your body doesn't lie. I wish somebody would have told me this a lot sooner because I feel like I've always been very connected to my intuition, but I've always shut it down or pushed it away. And now I'm really diving into that. You need to have body check-ins, okay? Because you need to notice that, like, whatever you're doing, think of like, does this decision feel heavy or does it feel light? Does it feel peaceful or does it feel constricted? Okay, because you need to trust the signals that your body gives you. Your body will react to the decisions that you are in the process of making or have made, and it will tell you how it feels, and really feel into it. Don't block out. Don't logically try and think about it. Have that body check in where you allow your body to tell you, essentially. Okay. And then another thing that I has worked for me for sure is practicing self-trust in small ways. Okay. So it starts with your daily choices. What do you eat? Okay. When are you resting? What feels good for you? Okay. Build muscle. Because if you can't trust what feels good for you, you need to build that muscle, okay? Because if you cannot trust yourself in small, you'll never trust yourself in big decisions. Like that is at the root core of what I truly believe in. Self-trust is built in those micro moments of your day, not the massive ones. I think we've talked about this in different capacities and in different podcast episodes, and essentially like the small wins throughout your day will accumulate, and those are what's going to create the massive ripple effect in your life. But you need to have that self-trust in those micro moments, and it starts maybe with a routine, a morning routine that works for you and your family, right? It can be something as simple as like getting up early and going to the gym or getting into your basement and having some sort of body movement, committing to that. Like you're going to build your self-trust that way because you're committed to you. You're committed to building on those moments. But okay, let's get real, okay? You, like, even though I've said all of these things and like obviously this works, okay? This works because I've practiced it. I practice it on a daily basis and it's really helps me dive into all of this woo-woo stuff. But if we really want to get real, you cannot fully access God's voice inside of you if your wounds are screaming louder, okay? Let me say that again. You cannot fully access God's voice inside of you if your inner wounds are screaming louder. Unhealed wounds distort the truth. I know a lot of people are going to be like, I don't have any wounds. And that's a wound in and of itself. You should look into that. Okay? The unhealed wounds distort the truth. They make you believe the lies of fear, shame, doubt. Okay? Those are unhealed wounds. So, how do you start healing in this process? Okay, well, one of the first things that I have realized is awareness. Like that, you have to become aware of the wounds in order for you to start healing them. Otherwise, you can't heal them. It's like people with addiction, right? Unless they realize that they have an addiction and accept it, they are aware of the fact that there is an addiction, they name it, they cannot actually move forward and work on it and heal. So it's the same thing here, okay? You have to name it. Like, are you carrying rejection? Are you carrying, the feeling of abandonment, not enoughness, unworthiness? Say it, okay? Say it and own it. Become aware of the wounds that you have by calling them out. By calling them out. It's scary. I know. It's a scary thing to do. But trust me, being aware of them is the first thing that you have to do in order to be able to help yourself heal through these wounds, okay? The next thing that you should have for yourself is compassion, truly. Have compassion for yourself. Stop shaming yourself for being wounded, for having wounds, because every single scar means you've survived something. And how beautiful is that? If we really want to tie in all of it, it's, all of the things in the world happen perfectly. All of the pain that we've experienced, all of the setbacks, all of the unanswered questions that you're like, but I really was looking forward to this and now it's not happening. Like, why is this happening? Well, everything happens for you, not to you. And if we can come to realize that, we can start having a little bit more compassion for ourselves and stop shaming ourselves every single time that we feel discomfort, because we've already made ourselves aware of the wound that there is. We've already identified it. And so once you identify it, you can say, okay, you no longer have power over me. And this takes time, but I want you to bring it into prayer. Okay, so tell God exactly what it is that hurts. Say something like, I don't know, this is the wound. Show me the truth beyond it. Okay. Acknowledge the fact that there is a wound. Maybe, let's go back to that. Maybe it was the rejection of, I don't know, family, friends, a significant other that didn't pan out, right? Maybe it was abandonment. You felt like your mom or dad never gave you the true love that you were seeking for, and you felt abandoned in certain aspects. Maybe it was abandonment, mom or dad walked out. Like there's so many things that could be identified as wound. And I don't want people to think of this as like, oh, okay, so my victim mentality is just going to kick in and everything is a wound and I'm broken. No. The awareness comes from realizing that the wounds that we carry are meant to teach us a lesson and are meant to grow us. The thing is, most people stay stuck in their wounds, don't do the work to bring it forward, and then don't want to know the truth or don't want to look into the truth beyond that wound. Wounds aren't a bad thing. They truly aren't. Wounds are there to grow us if we decide that that's the path that we want to go. Now, if you want to stay in victim mentality the rest of your life, I say the worst hood that you can live in is victimhood, because truly you're never going to get out of there. That becomes a vicious cycle of, I'm partially aware that I have a wound, but I'm not going to do any of the work in order to explore the truth beyond that, because, by the way, it's scary to do the work. So I don't want you to do this alone. I want you to get support. Okay. Healing was never meant to be done alone. It really wasn't. I hear so many people that are like, oh, I'm on a healing journey. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, I need time for me. I need time for myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. Well, great. Because I do believe that part of healing has to become, part of the inner aspect of yourself, and looking inward and doing all the things and really sitting with yourself. You cannot do the healing alone. It was never meant to be done that way. So what do I mean by that? Okay, there's therapists, there's mentors, there's friends, there's different, I call them God's vessels in your healing journey. Like, there really are so many support systems that you can look into to start this process of like, okay, I want to think differently. I want to feel differently. I want to have a relationship with God that doesn't feel shameful. It doesn't feel fearful. It doesn't feel like everything that I do, I'm going to be punished by it, that I'm a sinner. Like, if that's what you're looking for, like, to not feel that way, this is the way to do it. Starting to go inward and asking yourself the tough questions that we have been told not to ask, essentially, because we outsource all of our energy and all of our power to something that is separate from us and that we're supposed to fear, and we feel shame around all this and like guilt, and like that is not the energy of love, and God is the energy of love. So stop outsourcing it. Take on this healing journey. If you're still here, it means that you really there's something here that you're like, oh, that's deeply resonating with me, or maybe I've unlocked something in you that you're like, I've never thought of it this way. I've never thought of my journey this way, and now I'm thinking differently and I want to dive into that. Look for the support. Okay. Look for the support. Listen, I'm a huge advocate for therapists. I'm a huge advocate for talk therapy. I have a therapist myself, actually. And I think that they are very powerful, but I also believe that it's not the only way for you to heal. And it's not the only way for you to start this journey of essentially personal development and connection with your higher source, which is God within you. I don't think that that's the only way to do that. There are so many different modalities. And like I said, there's so many different, I call them God's vessels because they are people out there that you can connect with that can guide you in this way. And I think that this episode is going to be one that starts kind of like a healing process for a lot of people. I know a lot of people have asked me about this, the whole woo-woo thing and like what I've diving into, and here it is. I'm literally laying my heart out to all of you because I get it all the time. I get this question all the time. Like what are you doing? How have you changed? Like people have noticed a change in me in the last year specifically, and it has been this, my friends. This is essentially what I have been working on. Yeah, it can feel heavy, but once you do the work, it feels so freeing, so liberating. And I want everyone around me to feel this way. And the only way to do that is to go inward and realize that there is no separation between you and God. You are essentially one together. Okay. I'm not saying that you're God and that, people are going to take this and be like, you are not God, especially my really religious friends. And they're going to say, like, Maria's gone down cuckoo land. But what I'm trying to say is, you are created in his likeness and image. I still pray to God every day. But my prayer has changed into something that is more driven inside versus ask, give me all the answers. Why am I like this? And there's no feeling of shame or guilt or feeling like I'm a sinner. I don't like that word. I don't like that word. We are created in his likeness and image, which means that we are created in the energy of love, which means that there is no room. There is no room for you to feel shame, guilt, or negativity. That's not what God wants you to feel. So going back to your wounds, okay? Your wound, like I was saying, is not your weakness. It's the doorway where God wants to meet you, essentially. And this is what I mean about wounds are lessons in our life. It's like, okay, you're going through something, you went through something that is now ingrained in you or that still cuts deep and hurts. That's where God wants to meet you. That's where you should take the initiative and be like, okay, I'm feeling this. I'm going to become aware of it. I'm going to name it. I'm going to call it out. Okay, where's the truth behind this? What is this for me? So I want you to ask yourself, what wound have I been running from? And what if facing it is the very thing that sets me free? That is so powerful. So powerful. So I'm not going to get too deep into this. I just wanted to kind of dip my toes and dip your toes in if you're still here. But I want you to remember something today from what everything I've just said, okay? And that is that God is not far away out in the distant clouds, okay? He's not waiting for you to be perfect. He's not separate from you. He's within you. He's around you. He's for you. When you start to realize that that's the relationship between you and God, you truly start to see the world differently. I stumbled upon all of this because I was feeling, truthfully, that I had a lot of questions about my religion, and I'll speak on my own. I had a lot of questions about my religion. I've been called the challenger in our congregation many times before because I have a lot of questions, because I am curious about life. And I'm not saying that, to the fault of any religion that they should have all the answers. But what I am saying is that there is something beyond what is taught traditionally that I think keeps people divided and separated. And once you start to realize that God is actually within you and all around you, you do start to see the world completely different. Like there are some days where I can look at like nature, for example, and I'm finally for the first time, and I'm 30, almost 6 years old, for the first time I can see each and every vein of a leaf. I'm looking at a plant right now and I'm like, it's magical and wonderful and beautiful, and it's full of life and it's full of vibrancy. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, how have I never seen the world this way, apart from the distractions of the world, which are also meant to separate and divide? It's because I was outsourcing all of my decision-making process, all of my worthiness to something that was outside of me and felt like was so distant and separate and really truly based around feelings of negativity, shame, guilt, all of the things, instead of realizing that like everything is energy and everything was created in pure love. Pure love. The divine, going back to divine feminine and masculine energy, because all of this ties in, the divine feminine and masculine are not abstract ideas. There's people I will tell you right now, that's just what's popular right now on social media. No, that's just social media is bringing it to life because we're finally in a place where we are in an era of so much abundance of information that we can finally start to have some sort of answers to the questions that we have within us. Okay, so the divine feminine and the divine masculine, they're essentially the blueprint that God placed inside of you. Like how brilliant is that? It's like the dance between being and doing, okay? Between flowing and building. You must have both. And when you learn to balance those energies, when you stop searching outward and finally trust the God within you, you stop living lost in your life and you start living whole. That's what I was trying to portray with like the plant that I'm looking at. Sometimes when I'm in nature, how deeply focused I can see and how much beauty there is in the world. I lived for so long in a constant state of divine masculine energy of not allowing myself to feel that balance because, society, because religion, because of all the things that I was missing out on the beauty of life, living lost, essentially. Okay. The answers that you are desperate for will not be found in the noise of the world. I will tell you that right now. You know where they're going to be found? They're going to be found in the silence of your soul. So, the next time that you're tempted to scroll on social media because you want to numb something, the next time you're tempted to panic or seek everyone else's opinion, including a separate God, I want you to pause and I want you to breathe and I want you to ask yourself, what is God already whispering inside of me? Because the voice that you're waiting to hear has actually been with you all along. All along, my friends. If this episode is something that like lit something inside of you and you're listening and you're like, well, I've never thought of it this way, or like it gave you chills, or something inside of your intuition, which is God given, is telling you, I really want to listen to more of this, then share, obviously share. I'm going to ask you to share it with someone who's been searching everywhere but within themselves. And I want to invite you to ask yourself more questions on the inside. And if you're ready for more real conversations about spirituality and healing and finding that God within you, then have a conversation. Have a conversation with me. This is just the beginning of me sharing the woo-woo stuff. I thought I would intro it to you this way because I remember it being introed to me in a similar format and I was like mind blown. And I can tell you right now, it hasn't been an easy journey. It's not going to be an easy journey, but like everything in life, when you truly find the essence of yourself in that journey, it becomes magical. It becomes magical. And I hope that something I said today resonated with you, and I hope that you can take something away from it. And my DMs are always open to talk about anything and to talk about this if you'd like to. And yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I think it was a soft intro into how I feel and my journey through woo-woo land. And yeah, this is only just the beginning, and I'm gonna continue to share with you guys because I feel like a lot of people have really been interested in like exactly what it is that I think about and what this like whole journey and process has been. And this is, I believe, a continuous process of you getting reconnected back within and getting reconnected back to the infinite power of the universe and your connection to God. And so, anyways, I hope you have an amazing day. And I hope that if this resonated with you, you can share it or, take it in, maybe listen to it again, maybe take some notes and give me your thoughts on what you thought about the episode because I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what you think. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and see you next week.